Today we've got Leon Bartropp with us, mega successful carp angler, and he's going to show us some of the rigs he uses to catch all these carp. We're going to show us now the BlowBack rig, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll show you a BlowBack rig which I use for bottom bait fishing,
right, or
for a snowman, which gives it a little degree of buoyancy in the bait, you know. I use this mainly for fishing in silt. You can use it winter, summer. But I've had a lot of success with it in the winter actually. A lot of people use small baits, but I'm using like a 20mm bait and half a 15mm pop-up as well.
Is that to give it a bit more of a visual thing, or to get better hook holes so it's sucked back further?
Well, I mean, I use the weight of the bait really.
Yeah.
I think with a real BlowBack rig, you can't really use little 10mm baits and things, but it defeats the object of it. You've got to make the bait work so it pulls the hook into the mouth. The weight of the bait going back on the ring of the BlowBack pulls the hook in, you know, with quite a long hair on it as well. It's just, I've found particularly, which was interesting, it works really well in the winter. Yeah. Where a lot of people use small baits, so I'm using a bigger bait. I see. And I've done really well. I mean, I've had fish to, I've had a 44-pound common recently on the rig as well, which is really pleasing.
Obviously works then.
Oh yeah, definitely works. But it's not all the rigs I use. They're not just big fish rigs. You can use them for small fish, 20s, 30, any fish. So it's not a specific rig for big fish. You know, anyone can tie it, anyone can use it. You can put it in your day ticket water, or you know, your big fish. It works anywhere for any type of angler. I found anyway. So I'll go in and I'll show you how we do it. Okay. Again, I really like the 25-pound 2-ton strip tease. It's just, it's a really strong hook link. You'd be fishing and not getting bites, and the last thing you want to do is use a hook link which might break. I mean, it's very abrasive resistant. I've tried a knot in it and pulled it, and you just can't pull it. You're going to cut your hands more than anything.
It's very thin as well for its breaking strain.
Very, very thin, and I just do really well on it. Whatever rig I use, the 25-pound 2-tone, it just seems to work really well for me. So what I'm going to do is show you the BlowBack rig. Okay. First of all, what I do is I strip off probably about 4 or 5 inches there. This is going to create your end of your rig, which you put your boilie on. So best off that, strip any is your teeth. Yeah. You know, it really is. Tie a small loop there in the end. Tie a small loop and just pull it through. That's your hair loop. That's what you're going to attach your boilie to. Yeah. Just trim that off as well. Trim that off nicely there. Okay. There we go. You've got about 2-3 inches there, I suppose. Then we go down and cut off a length, which is going to be a length of your hook link roughly. Yeah. Okay. You know, you can do with tying and tie to your swivel and things like that. So about that sort of length. Yeah. What I've seen a lot of people do is they will tie on their hook, then put their bait on. What I do is I put my bait on, and then I tie my hook on, so I can get it perfect. The gap between the bait and hook is absolutely perfect every time.
So do you fish this rig with a sort of a set length, or do you vary the length of the hook link, or is it sort of you prefer sort of like the classic 8 to 9 inches?
What I do is I start off with about a hook link about 10 inches long. Right. Yeah. If I first start on any water, I start off about 10 inches long. And what I'll do is, on all 3 rods, I'll fish that for a couple of weekends or a couple of weeks, and if I'm catching or whatever, all well and good. And then I'll just slowly bring it down. Yeah. It could be even as low as like about 4 or 5 inches. Right, yeah. But I'll still leave one of the rods with the 10 inches.
Yeah. So if you think they're getting away with it on a slightly longer hook link, you shorten it down so they come into contact with the leg quicker.
I can't see the point of fishing 3 hook links, all exactly the same length, fishing out of 3 different areas, because...
Sort of putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I mean, it might be good because you might just be, you know, hammering the place on that and all well and good. But if you're just catching the odd fish here, the odd fish there, and everyone else is catching more, some other people are, just try messing about. The first thing I would do is not change your bait or things like that, is change your length of your hook link. Yeah. It's a fundamental thing, you know. But what we do is I'll show you how to tie this anyway. Get a mini Drennan ring now, thread that through, and just tie a simple overhand knot on there. Okay, So overhand knot. So your ring is on there. Okay. Now that ring you can.
So what have you got there? About just over an inch between the ring and the end of the hair, getting off 2 inches.
Yeah, I mean you can put it anywhere on there really, because that's going to move in a minute.
Yeah.
I'm going to move that anyway.
Right, I see.
So don't put loads of knots in there. Just put one knot in there. Put it on there.
You can adjust that. Yeah.
Then you can adjust it. Next thing I'll do is I will take my boilie. This is a 20mm boilie I'm using.
Big bait then.
A big bait. I mean, you can see that they're quite heavy, heavy bait. You don't see many people using a 20mm bait, which I think is what you want to do with a BlowBack.
They're almost difficult to get rid of, aren't they? Difficult
Exactly.
to spit them out.
Exactly. We stick that on there like that, and we get ourselves a half a fluoro, half a 15mm fluoro. I mean, you can use half a 15mm pop-up, which is exactly the same as your bait. It depends on what you want to do, you know.
With that, you've got the extra buoyancy plus a little bit of visual.
You've got the extra buoyancy, a little bit of visual, and if you can see that, it's actually made it a different shape.
Yeah, yeah.
It's longer. It's not everything which the fisher come across a 15mm bait or a 10 or a 20mm bait. It's a different shape.
Something a little bit unusual.
A little bit unusual. Right. Next thing, obviously, we'll put the hair stop on. Stick that on nice and tight like that. You can see we've still got our ring there.
Yeah.
Now, nice big hook, nice 5 Raptor curve shank from ESP.
You're not messing about with this rig, are you?
Not messing about. Even that, look, it's not a big hook, is it? Even a size 5, but it's so sharp.
Yeah.
The sharpness. One thing I must say to everyone out there watching this is always check how sharp your hooks are. Yeah. And these are really,
That's
really
the most
sharp.
Important piece of the rig, isn't it?
Most important piece of rig.
Put it over the hook first.
We put the hook on like that. We put the hook through the ring, and we adjust it so the ring is in line with the barb of the hook.
Right.
We've got about an inch gap there, which is about ideal actually.
Yeah.
And now we tie a knotless knot on. Tie that on like that. So basically, there we are.
So that's all, your length is set there.
Yeah, length is all set there. We've got about an inch there, which is good mechanics for this rig.
Yeah.
And then we just tie around 2 or 3 times, 4 or 5 times.
Simple, no knot.
Simple, no knotless knot.
Mm-hmm.
And straight back through, like so. Pull nice and tight. And there we go, like that. Nice gap between the hook and the bait, as you can see. Next thing we do is we'll put on an anti-tangle sleeve. It's just one of those rigs that, by incorporating this anti-tangle sleeve,
it's never going to tangle.
It's never going to
tangle.
tangle.
Out flat.
You can catch a fish in the dark, and you have confidence that you can chuck it back out the same spot, and you know it's not going to be tangled.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas many years ago, before ESP come up with these anti-tangle sleeves, these hard anti-tangle sleeves, you'd be casting it and think, was that all right? Did that land? Did that tangle? Yeah. Now we don't have to worry about that. It's just another thing you don't have to worry about.
They sink as well, don't they? So
they sink.
They really lay it out flat and
lay
pin the hook link to the leg bed.
Everything's pinned down at the bottom there. But remember, before you actually tie your hook link on your swivel or your lead or whatever, always put that on first. Yeah. Because once you tie it, you can't put it on.
Yeah.
Put that on. We tie our swivel on. So we tie that on. The knot I use, just simple 3 or 4, 5 turns. Back through the eye of where you've just come from.
Just a simple blood knot.
Simple blood knot. I've never used anything else for anything.
Really?
That's the only knot I use for tying any hook link material. Because if you tie it right, it's never going to come off.
No.
Wet it a little bit, pull it tight. Pull it tight up there. I think that's where people go wrong. They don't pull it tight up there.
Yeah, you just bend it down, sort of bed it down with your fingernails.
Bend it down with your fingernails. You can see it's like, I've never had one slip, never, you know, and then just trim it off. But trim it off so you've got a little bit left. Don't trim it real tight, because that's when you get problems.
Yeah.
Push that up so it goes over the swivel, and there we have it.
Yeah, it's a very simple rig, isn't it?
Very simple rig, but very, very effective.
Yeah.
As long as you leave a gap between the bend of your hook and the bait there, that hook's going to work.
I think that separation.
That separation is the key to it. Yeah. The sharpness of the hook is key.
Yeah.
The separation and the weight of the bait is key as well.
It's a simple rig to tie. So there you go, that's the BlowBack rig. Give it a go.